Aloha, welcome to the Super Fresh Hawaii Wedding Podcast. This is Nate Burgoyne with the Fro Baby Productions DJ team, and I am super thrilled to have Amanda from Savvy Weddings here with me today. She is a rock star wedding coordinator. Love working with her, and she has so much fun and has so much to share today. So, Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be invited to be on the podcast today.
Fantastic. Tell us who you are. Tell us about your story. How did you get started as a wedding coordinator?
Well, as you said, I'm Amanda. I am now owner of Savvy Weddings Hawaii. I was originally looking for what I wanted to do after college. Not really sure. I had graduated from Manoa with a degree in marketing, and I was just like, not really sure what I wanted to do. My best friend and my older brother got married in the same summer, and I had the opportunity to be maid of honor and a bridesmaid in those weddings. And I got to work closely with the venue contact at both of those weddings. And I was really excited about what they were doing. And I was like, I want to do that. This seems fun. So, and both those weddings were in California where I'm originally from. And when I got back to Hawaii after those two, I reached out to a few wedding planners on the island, and I was like, hey, I have zero experience. I'm just interested in the industry. I would love the opportunity to learn. And I met with Jen Kahunahana, the original owner of Savvy Weddings. And she interviewed me, asked me a few questions, made sure I knew how to tie a bow, which I later found out was because she didn't know how to tie a good, cute bow. So she needed me to tie cute bows. And then I worked a few weddings for her, and we decided it was a good fit. And then it just kept going as day assistant for a few years. And then I worked my way all the way up to lead planner. And then in 2021, post COVID and going through all that, her and I had a conversation, and she was like, hey, you've been basically doing it yourself. Like, do you want to do this full time and take it on? And yeah, I bought the business from her with actually a bride of mine, Sandra, who is married to my high school classmate. So it's a very tight-knit family over here.
That's super exciting. So you chose to be in this industry. You didn't just fall into it accidentally, I suppose.
Yeah. I definitely chose it. I was presented to me, I guess, in like unconventional way, you know?
What is your favorite part about helping couples plan their wedding? Like, what's the piece? What keeps you driving you forward and doing this with the endless enthusiasm that you have?
It definitely has to be the wedding day. It's the first thing I fell in love with in the wedding industry is the wedding day, like being a part of my brother's wedding and my best friend's wedding, getting to experience that. Even though it's chaotic and crazy sometimes, it is so fun to hear the guests come up to the couple and tell them this is the best wedding they ever been to. It has been so organized. The timeline was great. Like, and they're happy. The food is amazing. All the vendors coming together, like for one day, like that's the ultimate part of wedding planning with couples.
Love it. Now, you just mentioned you love it when the couples come up and they say, that was the best wedding ever been to. I'm sure couples listening now are going, okay, I want my wedding to be the best wedding ever. So what are you going to tell the couples that they need to be doing or thinking, or like, what's that key to success of having the best wedding ever?
I think being mindful of guest experience. Like, you are creating a space for all the people and you want everyone to feel comfortable. So you don't want to not have shade if you need it, right? You want people to have a good time. So if your people love a certain type of music, like that's what you're going to lean towards for your wedding day. You know, like making sure you're being mindful of everybody that's a part of it is what's going to make the event most successful.
So being mindful of the guests and the experience that they're going to have at that wedding. Excellent. Can you walk us through what that process looks like? They're coming up with a timeline. They're trying to figure out, how do I make this guest experience everything that they want it to be? What does that process look like? How do you walk them through that? Or what kind of insights can you give to couples who are thinking about timelines? I'm not a coordinator, so I don't even know really how to ask this question properly, but you can tell the answer is just like right on the tip of your tongue. Impart the wisdom and educate us here.
Okay. So I like to start from the ceremony and work my way through the end of the evening and include everything that you want to happen in the wedding day. Like everything that you want to make sure happens on that day, you want to put on that timeline. So including time for lunch, like that is important for the couples. Like for their wedding parties, like making sure everyone's eating, even if, especially if there's an earlier call time for hair and makeup, like that too. You want to make sure that you are having breakfast scheduled or have a plan for breakfast. I think going from the ceremony and going all the way through the end and then working your way back is a good way to figure out exactly when you need specific vendors and for how long. So say, for example, you have a 4:00 ceremony, which is pretty standard here, like 4:30 is usually what we see. I would say like typical, like standard non-religious ceremonies tend to go no more than 30 minutes. I don't give a less than 30-minute window simply for buffers of like, there's an auntie that is super important that we don't want to start with that might be running a little bit late, but that won't make us push back the entire timeline necessarily. If we have that little bit of a buffer there where like the ceremony actually is only like 10, 15 minutes, we can wait for auntie for like 10 minutes and we know, okay, it won't push back the entire day, and then also looking up sunset time, like you are at a venue that has a sunset view. You want to make sure that you are checking the time of the sunset and planning for about 30 minutes of photos around that, if you wanted to take sunset photos. And then you work that into your timeline. So a good place for couples to go escape for sunset photos is when everyone else is eating. So during dinner. So if like ever we open the buffet, then you guys head off and take your sunset photos, right? Like planning those things into the timeline that are very specific and then working the rest of the schedule around that. It's like huge keys in creating a wedding day timeline and having a good flow for yourself, for the guests, where you don't feel like you are missing out on too much. And you don't feel like people aren't able to see you at all.
So you're starting this timeline when they wake up in the morning. Is that right?
Yes.
Like you're going to wake up at whatever time in the morning and you're going to eat breakfast. It's on the timeline.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Phenomenal.
Yeah. And nothing is longer, like nothing is shorter than 5 minutes. So even if it's a speech that like a short toast that maybe is like actually 1 minute, I will always leave at least 5 minutes for that just to have buffers throughout the day. So for example, after the ceremony, we wanted to take family photos, but someone ran off to the bathroom and we couldn't find them. So we missed a couple of family photos. Okay. But we can take a little bit of time from later and bring that over here and use that to make sure we still get those things done. So we're not missing anything. Worst case, you have a little more dancing time,
Got it. Hey, there's no problem with more dancing time. We know that.
Exactly.
From a DJ to, more dancing time, more better. Okay, so you have these timeline worked out from the time they wake up in the morning until everything's cleaned up at the end of the night. We know that Hawaii is Hawaii, and there could be weather, there could be rain, there could be wind, traffic. The roads are not that wide here. How do you handle the unexpected?
I mean, you have to kind of take the punches as they come, right? Like, when things are happening, like as soon as I hear someone say that there was traffic on the way, I'm mindful and I'm taking a note of that. Okay. So like there is traffic, someone, or, say Nate, what time you arrive at the venue, right? Is after what time I'm there, but on your way, you tell me that you were in some traffic. You're like, oh, Amanda, it's starting. Like, okay, so then I'm planning for that, and I can communicate that to the transportation company, but not everyone might be on that transportation, and like they might not be able to tell the guests to get there earlier. So really, I'm just going to have to tell everybody on site, like, hey, as soon as guests arrive, we are starting. It is, it is moving fast. So we have to just pivot when things come up, and weather wise, there's certain places on the island you can see it before it comes. So you can actually like plan for it and be like, okay, it looks like it's going to rain in like 30 minutes. I can start the ceremony like 15 minutes earlier, or we can start it, 30 minutes late, like seeing like what kind of pocket it is, and always checking the weather app, even though it's not very accurate, but it can be helpful when you're looking at rain. You're like, I see it. Okay. Like, when should it be here? When is it coming? Good to keep in mind.
I always have that app open. I have this radar app that shows all the rain clouds coming across. I start looking at it, looking up, looking at the radar.
Yeah.
We've got a window, and always appreciative when the coordinators go, okay, we got to do the ceremony right now. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I've been really successful with that. And, I've had times where we have had to adjust things and move like dance floors and DJs and stuff from where we were originally supposed to be. And it's really just about teamwork and working together and coming up with a consistent plan that we all know we're going to execute.
Well, from a DJ's perspective, which is the only perspective I have, I can always tell when the couple's got a great coordinator, because everybody arrives and they're relaxed. They've been following the program, I guess, throughout the day, and they're arriving at the venue and they're not scrambling and going, oh my gosh, where's the flowers? Where's this? The tent is late. They're just not stressed out. They're just there so they can enjoy the celebration, while Amanda's in the background making the phone calls. Okay, there's traffic, you guys. You gotta hurry up. Get over here. Get over there. Okay, the flowers are wilting. Come on. The thing is, the wind is blowing over the flowers. I see all this happening, but when they've got a great coordinator like yourself, the wedding party is not stressed out about that. They can just enjoy their time there. So I definitely see the value of everything that you're describing here.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right, let me look for a next question here. Okay, here's a good one.
Okay.
A lot of couples are coming to Hawaii to get married. How do you recommend that couples navigate the communication with the time changes and all of those considerations?
Does this couple have a planner?
Let's say they don't have a planner.
Okay. So if they don't have a planner, what I would suggest is still having a timeline similar to what planner would do. Like, I think there's some templates online of like, you should book these vendors this far out. So like caterers and photographers and even DJs, I think like are going to be like your three like big ones in the front end. You want to make sure that you get who you want. And also, as like you can do multiple weddings, your company can do multiple weddings, but there's only one Nate,
There's only one Amanda.
There's only one Amanda, there's only one me. Yeah. Right. So working on those ones first, and then also like setting yourself up with like a good timeline cadence of following up. So like working at it with like a 2-week, every 2 weeks, you're making sure you're taking time to plan and reach out to these people and check on the next vendor. Cause that's a good cadence that I like to keep with my couples when we're in the beginning of the planning stage. Is we talk every 2 weeks to have like a good planning meeting. So it's, every 2 weeks sitting down being like, okay, like where are we? Let's go, like, let's make decisions. Let's do that. And so on and so forth.
Okay. So it sounds to me like a mess of spreadsheets and calendars and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's a good sized Google folder that I have for each of my couples that I put into like each vendor category that they are looking for. So, like it's a lot of things to keep track of.
Now that's something that I think a lot of couples overlook. How many vendors it takes to put on a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
It is.
Okay, can you just rattle off for me all the vendors? Like, let's say you're doing a wedding at Coolo Ranch
Okay.
in the bowl lawn,
Uh-huh.
and who are all the players that a couple is going to have to communicate with to make that successful?
Well, at Coolo Ranch, you are required to have a wedding planner. So a wedding planner for sure, whether it's the day of or more than that. But like even with the day of ones, you'll still have to talk to all the other vendors. So you'll need a caterer, you'll need a rental company, you'll need a florist, you'll need a DJ, you'll need a service staff. If it's not included with the caterer, you'll need a bar staff, you'll need linen, specialty linen. If you are not getting it from your rental company, if you want any live music, you'll need that. If you want an officiant, you'll need that. I'm at 10 already. And you'll need, like, if you have like a dessert vendor, a cake vendor, and you also still have to talk to Kualoa. If you have transportation, you need that. Hair and makeup, you're doing that. Yeah, I think that's like the good, like, basic list.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's a good base. That is a basic list. Cause then there's stuff on top. What if you want the coconut guy who's like cutting coconuts and doing that? What if you want, there's other things. You got that caricature artist or the butterfly release guy, or there's all those other little things as well. There's a lot of things to balance.
If you want a fire knife dance, you want any type of hula, you want like a specific MC, like there's all kinds. Bands,
Okay, so now to go to the flip side. So if you're trying to manage time zones and communication with all these millions of vendors, right? So now you got a planner. What is that? How does that solve your problem?
So I do all that legwork for my couples. So I'm the one reaching out to the 6 different bands to get proposals for them. And then I'm presenting you with one email that's like, here are all the bands that are available for your wedding date, and these are their pricings. And then they're just making a decision at that point. So it's really taking all the legwork from them, where they don't have to talk to 6 different bands, get proposals, compare them, and read all the contracts without anyone else looking at them. Like, I'll look over all the contracts. I'll be like, hey, these are the things I saw in here that we maybe want to adjust. Or this contract looks good. This one is requiring, this is the specific band's tech writer, so they need these specific things from the sound guy, right? So I would take on all that brain power versus them having to do it themselves.
Sold. Okay. When my daughters get married, I am not even going to be a wedding planner. Nope. Step 1, get a planner.
So many vendors per category that you have to communicate with to like make comparisons, because you don't want to just look at one, right? Like no one wants to be like, okay, one, and that's the only one I've researched and that's it, right? You want to look at multiple. So I think that is the hardest part of it, is managing all the vendors.
And do you enjoy that?
I mean, work is work, right?
We know wedding day is your favorite part. It's all for the
wedding day.
Is
my favorite. Exactly. I'll do whatever I have to get to the wedding day.
Yeah, whatever it takes to make wedding day. Love it.
Well, luckily I have people like you where I can be like, hey, are you available this date? And like, I know your pricing and I know those things and I know how to set up a call with you. So I just have to, message you and like say, are you available? Vendors like you, I'm very appreciative of.
Yeah, I would imagine that's helpful. You've got vendors that are going to respond to text. They're going to get back or whatever to make your life a little bit easier as well. So there you go. Plug. Any vendors listening to this, get back to your coordinators ASAP, and they're going to really appreciate it. True?
Yep. True.
Okay. Let me switch gears for just a second here.
Okay.
Trends come and go. Are there any wedding trends that you're seeing right now that you're thinking, oh, I really kind of like the direction this is going for couples getting married in Hawaii?
I love the private last dance. I don't know how many you've done of those, but I think those are something that I love seeing, is the private moment with the bride or the couple at the end of the night. Just the 2 of them together is really just sweet to see. And like, it's just a nice close to the wedding day.
I agree. We do those all the time now. They're great. Like, it's kind of nice for the coordinator too, I would imagine, because you kick all the guests out. You're like, okay, guests, go to the buses because the couple's going to have a moment here. And I found that the guests are actually, they really like that. You know, they respect that. They're like, oh, that's cool. And then they, you know, they go to the pavilion or exit wherever they want. So a couple can have that private dance. I think it's great. I even leave. Like, I give it to them private. I hit play and then I take off and go, you know, hang out in the bushes or wherever, you know. I take off myself too. They can have that moment. They don't need the DJ like eyeballing them, you know, from the sidelines or something. So I think I love that trend too. That's awesome.
Done a couple where I've asked beforehand. I'm like, do you want me gone or do you want like if they don't have a photographer staying till the end? Because I think that's the part where people are like, oh, I might not want to pay for the photographer all the way till the end just for like the one dance. So I've done a few where I've like done little iPhone videos and then it's the sweetest thing to have and it's so cute. I love it. I love that.
Love that. Super. All right. Now there's a lot of coordinators. There's a ton of them. There are lots of wedding coordinators out there. And just like any vendor, like for us, we're not the right DJ team for everybody, right? Just as, you know, I would assume you are not the right coordinator for everybody, right? You've told me that. So what advice do you have for a couple that's trying to identify the right wedding coordinator for them?
Communication styles. How you communicate with them and how they communicate with you. You want that to be levels. Having a good set expectation of how the communication is going to work throughout the process and make sure that matches with what you're comfortable with. I think that's super important because your wedding planner is your lifeline for your wedding and you don't want to not have access to your lifeline the way you want to, you know? I think that's something that I've gotten down with my people. You know, I love that I have the people that understand me and my communication style and like work similarly.
Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to flip the question over. Describe to us your dream couple. Okay, this is like you're typing into Chat GPT and you're asking the Chat GPT to spit out your dream couple. What do they look like? Where are they from? What are they into? Who is the dream couple for Amanda and Savvy Weddings?
Dream couple is a couple that maybe they don't live here full time, but they have like property here or have lived here. So they like have understanding and respect for Hawaii. And then also like they have a very romanticized tie to it. And that's what's bringing them here to get married. I also think that they have a good sense of humor. They have a good sense of humor. They like to laugh. They are really focused on their love and sharing that with their family and friends. And that is like the basis of like what they're wanting their wedding to be. I think that is one of my favorite things is when the couples are just want to spend the time with their family and friends. Yeah. And they have somewhat of an idea of what they're looking for, but they're also really open to my fun ideas. I think that's like a fun dream client is someone who's like open to maybe some new ideas that I have. Be like, oh, it'd be really cool to, you know, we did colored umbrellas for a circular round ceremony, and I had this idea to do like an ombre effect where we purchased 3 different color umbrellas, like stuff like that. Like that's really fun, you know, like where I'm like, oh, I have this really cool idea, and they're okay with stuff like that. You know, they go with some of my ideas. You know, I think that pretty much describes my dream couple.
That kind of sounds like a couples that everyone would want to attend their wedding. Like, let's go. Let's be part of this wedding, right?
Yeah.
Everyone who listens here is going to start following you and like trying to wedding crash. That's what's going to happen here. Okay, now I'm going to give you. I'm going to ask you a question that is I just like brag. Okay, so what are you really good at? Like what's that thing that differentiates you from anyone else? Like we know there's only one Amanda. What is your thing? Like what are you better at than anybody else?
I'm going to say problem solving in the moment, because that is a muscle that sometimes we have to flex more often than we want to. And I do it seamlessly without people noticing. For example, I had a wedding a few years ago and the florist showed up to set up the flowers and he goes, "Hey, Amanda, I'm here." And I was like, "Hey, how are you?" He's like, "Great. Like, is the arch all set?" And I was like, "You're supposed to have it." So he's like, well, I don't have it. And, the ceremony was set to start in an hour and I called a friend and I had them go to the nearest rental company and pick up an arch that was exactly like the one we were supposed to have and had it delivered to venue. And it was set with flowers with 30 minutes before the ceremony. So no one knew about it until now.
Nice. The miracles that are being performed behind the scenes that nobody ever sees or hear about until today. And that's just one. I'm sure that stuff happens all the time. I see it from a DJ's perspective when, from the DJ booth, because we're communicating with the coordinator. We communicate with a lot of vendors on day of, and we just see these like heroic things that are constantly happening by all vendors, and nobody ever sees, like nobody knows that any of this scramble took place on the back end unless they don't have a coordinator. Then it's chaos. Right?
Well, I don't know what that's like, right? Because I'm always there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll do that. I'll invite you. Amanda, you could come be my DJ assistant for a wedding where there's no coordinator and you can just go crazy watching what's happening.
I wouldn't be able to watch. I would just help.
No, yeah, you need
like, give me the timeline.
Give me the timeline. Let's go. We got to fix this. Exactly. That's exactly what would happen. All right. Well, let me just round this out. Let me ask you just two more questions here. What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Man.
The most rewarding part of being a coordinator, doing what you do?
The thank you cards. I keep them all on my fridge. The thank you cards I get from people, I think the like life updates, the lifelong friends I've created from couples. Like I did a baby shower for one of my brides last year and that was so special, like being a part of people's future moments is the most rewarding part.
Fantastic. Wow. Oh, you're going to have to send us a picture of your fridge so we can see what that looks like.
I'll send you a picture of my fridge.
Okay. She's going to send a picture of the fridge. We're going to put it at the end of the podcast so you guys can see the fridge.
Oh my God.
She's for real here.
I have people's like save the dates on there. I have all my thank you cards. I have a lot of stuff on my fridge.
All right. We're going to get to see Amanda's fridge, you guys. Maybe we call maybe that'll be the title of this podcast. Amanda's fridge. Okay. I guess last question. Is there anything else that you just want to share with everyone who might be listening to this podcast?
Just how amazing you are. Like absolutely amazing you are. Like you are an amazing DJ and an amazing friend and an amazing vendor. And working with you is always so special. And my couples love it. And it is the easiest thing that I sell is you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. I have to decide if I'm going to keep that in because that sounded like a planted question.
No, it wasn't though.
Okay.
That was my genuine answer.
Okay. I'm flattered. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, tell us how listeners can connect with you, connect with Savvy Weddings. Give us your Instagram. Tell us how everyone can get in contact with you.
Yes. Okay. So it is savvyweddingshi.com is our website. And you can find us on Instagram at Savvy Weddings, one word, 2 V's, Savvy, weddings with an S. And then there's also Savvy Weddings California. You can check out Sandra. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being on our podcast here today.
Thank you, Nate.
Our first official guest actually here of the Super Fresh Hawaii Wedding podcast, which you can all check out online. Just go to superfreshpodcast.com. That's where you'll get all the information. We're on Spotify and YouTube right now. So check out all of the other episodes. And Amanda, will you be a guest on the podcast again in the future?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for being part of the podcast today. And that's it for now.